I was killing myself for the company, burning the midnight oil night after night. My wife, who has a fatal allergy to alcohol, went clubbing with her male bestie while 7 months pregnant, drank, and lost our baby. Remembering the debt I owed her grandfather, I swallowed my rage. But then, her parents decided to have me killed to seize my entire fortune. That is, until I was working late one night and got another call from the hospital. Mr. Thompson, your wife was drinking at a bar with someone. She went into anaphylactic shock and did not survive. We need you to come and identify the body. I didn't feel a shred of grief. Instead, I had her bestie sent to prison. And for good measure, I brought her parents' entire world crashing down. The first time the hospital called, I dropped everything and tore over there, my heart pounding in my chest. In the hospital room, Chloe was pale against the white sheets, her voice shrill and defensive. Frank, I already told you. I haven't been out in forever. Julian just wanted me to let loose for a bit at the club. I never thought I'd lose the baby. And there was Julian, pouring her a glass of water, his expression a mask of gentle concern. She knew she had a deadly alcohol allergy. She let this snake talk her into going clubbing and drinking. How could anyone be that stupid? A sharp pain lanced through my chest, and I tasted copper in the back of my throat. Married for 3 years. 3 years I'd spent grinding to build my company, while my wife took my money and gallivanted around town with her so-called best friend. And even now, she was defending him. That was our child who had been growing inside her for months. Julian, with his fair skin and artfully distressed look, put on a pathetic show. Frank, man, this was really just an accident. Chloe was saying how tough pregnancy was, how bored she was, so I suggested we go out and blow off some steam. I had no idea. He looked down, his voice thick with fake remorse. If you have to blame someone, blame me. I should have taken better care of her. The sheer audacity of it made me sick to my stomach. I wasn't some eunuch. My wife didn't need another man taking care of her. Chloe, I want you to cut ties with this. This thing, right now, or we get a divorce. My voice echoed in the sterile room, raw and shaking with a rage I couldn't contain. No man could tolerate a situation like this. For the sake of the child we almost had, and for the immense help her grandfather had given me, I was willing to give her one last chance. We could maintain this sham of a marriage, and I would support her for the rest of her life. At the word divorce, Chloe finally panicked. We hadn't been completely without affection these past 3 years. She shot a desperate, unwilling look at Julian. Just then, my in-laws, having heard about the miscarriage, burst into the room. They'd heard everything. My mother-in-law rushed to her daughter's bedside, saw her pale, drawn face, and then rounded on me, jabbing a finger in my face. Frank Thompson, how dare you? How dare you speak to my daughter that way? Chloe just lost her baby, and you want a divorce? Over our dead bodies, she shrieked. We let our daughter marry you, and this is how you take care of her? My father-in-law's expression was harder to read. He glanced at Chloe with a look of pure disappointment, then at Julian with undisguised contempt. Finally, his cold eyes settled on me. Frank, if you divorce Chloe, it will be a scandal. The gossip will be everywhere, and the company's stock will take a massive hit. The Miller family can't afford that kind of humiliation. I absolutely will not allow this divorce. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a low threat. And don't you forget, your company is only alive today because of our family's capital. You divorce our daughter, and we pull our funding. Immediately, his words hit me like a physical blow. After my parents died, Thompson Industries was bleeding money. I had to drop out of college just to keep it from going under. It was Chloe's grandfather who stepped in, offering the investment that saved my family's legacy, on the condition that I marry Chloe. That capital injection was our lifeline. Right now, the company was pouring every last dollar into a massive R&D project, a Hail Mary meant to revolutionize our industry. If the Millers pulled their funding now, it would be more than pulling the rug out from under me. It would be a kill shot. The company was my parents' life's work. I valued it more than my own life, and my father-in-law knew it. I stared at him, numb, my heart sinking into an icy pit. In all our years of marriage, I had always done right by them, by Chloe. And in return, my wife was flagrantly carrying on with another man, and her parents were siding with her, completely blind to right and wrong. I thought, as a man, her father might understand. But in the end, to save face for the Miller family, to protect his precious daughter, he was forcing me to break my own teeth and swallow them. Back in the hospital room, I saw Julian flash a smug, triumphant smirk. I saw the ugly greed on my in-laws' faces. And I saw Chloe looking like an innocent victim. I felt hollowed out. I left the hospital and threw myself back into work, burying myself in the one thing I could control. My assistant, Amy, came into my office, a strange look on her face. She handed me her tablet, which was displaying a feed from my home security cameras. "Mr. Thompson, you need to see this." For security, I'd had cameras installed in several locations around our suburban mansion. I took the tablet, my face a mask, and watched the clip Amy had queued up. It showed Chloe being brought home by her parents. Once inside, she went to the bedroom, and her parents started talking in the living room. My mother-in-law's voice was sharp, laced with venom. "You know, Bill, that Frank Thompson is getting way too big for his britches. Today he threatens to divorce Chloe. Tomorrow, he'll have the nerve to try and take over our company. Don't you forget how we had to wrestle control of it back from him in the first place." Her words were poison, meant to provoke. My father-in-law, Bill, was silent for a long moment. When Chloe's grandfather passed away, he knew his own son and daughter-in-law had zero business acumen, and Chloe was a spoiled dilettante. So, in his will, he'd left me in charge of managing Miller Corp., though the family retained the stock ownership. That had infuriated my in-laws. It was as if their own father had announced to the world that an outsider was more capable than his own son. Less than a month after the funeral, they rallied the other shareholders and forced me out. It was clearly a sore spot for Bill. His expression hardened, his eyes turning cold and malicious. "You're right," he said finally. "Thompson Industries has been booming under his leadership. And you're right, no man would put up with another guy hanging around his wife. We forced his hand today, and he'll hold a grudge. Maybe it's better if we just get rid of him." He paused, the monstrous idea hanging in the air. Then we wouldn't have to worry about him trying to muscle in on our company. And since Chloe is his only next of kin, if he dies, Thompson Industries becomes ours too. My mother-in-law's face lit up with glee. "Yes, Bill, that's brilliant. Frank dies, our company is safe, and we can easily handle that little pretty boy Chloe likes so much," she crowed. "I'll find someone to take care of it right away. Take me out." Hearing those words from the recording, my vision went red. I couldn't believe it. Old Man Miller had made me acting chairman precisely because he knew his son and daughter-in-law were only capable of squandering the family fortune. But to secure their lifestyle, he left them the shares. I had poured my blood and sweat into their company to repay his kindness, working for them for free. And they saw it as an attempt to steal their legacy? And now they wanted to kill me. My father-in-law even admitted he understood my position, that no man would tolerate it. Yet they let Chloe continue her charade. Suddenly, the pain in my chest was like a knife twisting. My throat closed up. "Amy," I croaked, my voice hoarse. "Make a copy of that video. Then start dissolving every partnership, every contract we have with the Miller Corp. Anything we can't untangle, bundle it up, and dump it on their doorstep." "If they want to play dirty," I said, my voice hardening, "I'll show them how it's done." In that moment, whatever was left of my heart turned to stone. I had repaid my debt to Chloe's grandfather many times over. I had tried to take care of his family, but his descendants were a bunch of useless, entitled leeches, and they were rotten to the core. Chloe and I met in college. Our families had always done business together. But the year I started my freshman year, my father died of cancer. My mother, lost in her grief, passed away not long after. The double blow sent Thompson Industries into a tailspin. The company was my parents' legacy. In the end, I had to drop out of school to take the helm. Chloe was the Miller family princess, spoiled and adored, who had fallen head over heels for Julian, a poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks. Julian was a master of disguise, a social climber with a heart full of ambition. Chloe's grandfather, a veteran of the corporate battlefield, saw right through the kid's act. Chloe was his only granddaughter, the future heir to the family fortune. A manipulative nobody with no business sense was the last person he wanted for her. To secure her future, the old man turned his sights on me. He knew me since I was a kid. Our families were social equals, and with my family's temporary decline, I'd be easier for them to manage. So, he made me an offer. Frank, he'd said, if you agree to marry my Chloe, the Miller family will inject $20 million into your company to help you weather this storm. I watched you grow up. I know your character, and I trust you. At the time, I had managed to stop the bleeding at Thompson Industries, but our assets had shrunk to 1/10 of their former value. I wasn't a miracle worker, just an inexperienced kid doing the best he could. The Miller investment was a defibrillator for my dying company. I promised him then and there, "Sir, you helped me in my darkest hour. I, Frank Thompson, am a grateful man. I will never let you, or Chloe, or the Miller family down." Even though I didn't love Chloe, I would honor my debt to her grandfather and be a responsible husband. Soon after, the Millers started a rumor that their company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Hearing the news, Julian cleaned out Chloe's bank accounts and vanished. Chloe was heartbroken. She walked down the aisle to marry me with dead eyes. For the first year of our marriage, I worked tirelessly to grow my company while trying to be a caring husband. Thompson Industries flourished. I gave the Miller family the highest possible returns on their investment and gave Chloe a life of luxury and comfort. Eventually, I thought I had won her over. I thought I had earned the Millers' approval. I thought we were on our way to a life together. I thought I had finally become part of their family. Until, a year later, Julian came back. Now I finally understood. I was, and always would be, an outsider. No matter how worthless their daughter was, she was still their own flesh and blood. It's been a month since that day at the hospital. I've been living at the office. Today, Amy placed a new financial report on my desk. Seeing my hollowed-out expression, her voice was full of excitement. "Mr. Thompson, our AI smart chip was a success. The technology is world-class." As soon as we announced it at the product launch, Thompson Industries' market cap exploded by 430%. The stock has been hitting its upper limit for a month straight, and sales contracts are flooding in. We're flush with cash. It was the first piece of good news I'd had in what felt like an eternity. A light returned to my eyes. In this era of technological revolution, I had bet everything on artificial intelligence, sinking all our capital into R&D. The gamble had paid off. The product launch had shaken the global market. Thompson Industries now had the muscle to compete with the top tech giants in the world. The success pulled me out of the fog of my failed marriage. Just then, my phone rang. It was Chloe's father. "Hello." I answered, my voice flat and cold. "I'm busy at the office." "What is it?" "Frank, my boy, I hear your new product is a gold mine on the international market. The company must be rolling in it, with the year ending soon. How much are you planning for the dividend?" He continued, his tone oozing entitlement. "You couldn't have reached these heights without the Miller support, you know. So about that exclusive distribution right for the new chip, let's keep in the family. Better us than some stranger, right?" I laughed silently, a bitter, cold sound. In the last 3 years, the dividends I'd paid the Millers had already far exceeded their initial $20 million investment. The moment he smelled profit, he was crawling out of the woodwork to claim his piece. He'd conveniently forgotten how he'd threatened me in that hospital room just a month ago, how he'd planned to have me killed. The Miller Corp had been stagnating for years, failing to innovate or keep up with the times. Their products were losing market share, and the company was in decline. Meanwhile, I had kept Thompson Industries focused on the future, on cutting-edge research, and now we were reaping the rewards. Everyone in the industry knows R&D is a money pit until you strike gold. Now that I finally had, my father-in-law had the gall to demand the exclusive rights to my product. That wasn't asking for a piece of the pie. That was demanding I hand over the entire bakery. The greed was breathtaking. "Okay, Dad, I understand. We can talk about this when I get home. I have an important meeting right now." I cut him off, my voice even. He didn't notice a thing. In his eyes, I was still the obedient, grateful son-in-law, forever in his father's debt. After all, I hadn't even fought back when they pushed me out of their company. Having settled business, he switched to his patronizing, fatherly tone. "Frank, I hear you haven't been home in a month. That daughter of mine, we spoiled her rotten growing up. You need to be more patient with her. Apologize. Everyone makes mistakes, Frank. Chloe just made a small one, the kind of emotional mistake any young woman might make. You apologize to her, and you can both move on. What's most important is for the family to be happy together." His sanctimonious lecture was infuriating. Okay, Dad. I get it. I'll head home later tonight. I hung up, my patience gone. Happy together. The only people who would be happy were his damn family. After wrapping things up at the office, I decided to go home. It was time to settle this. My original plan was just to cut ties with the Millers and never see them again. But since they had tried to crush me, to have me murdered for my money, they deserved no mercy. I would destroy Chloe and Julian's reputations, and I would bring the entire Miller family to ruin. I drove back to the house Chloe and I had bought when we got married. I used my key to open the front door. On the sofa, a woman shot up from a man's embrace, her face a mask of panic. "Frank, what are you doing back here?" The scene sent a rush of blood to my head, a fire igniting in my chest. Chloe was wearing a sexy silk robe, nestled cozily in Julian's arms just moments before. But the anger was so intense, it became a cold, clear calm. I ignored them and walked straight toward the study. Sensing my cold fury, Chloe's temper flared. She blocked my path, shouting, "Frank, what is your problem?" "So I went to a club and had a drink, so what? I'm not even mad at you anymore. So can you just stop being so dramatic?" Dramatic? Her monumental stupidity was almost laughable. She genuinely believed she had done nothing wrong. It didn't matter anymore. The plan for revenge was already in motion. As far as I was concerned, Chloe, the Millers, and Julian were already dead men walking. "Frank, don't be angry," Julian cooed, sidling up to me. A wave of his cloying, insincere charm washed over me. "It's my fault. Chloe was just upset because you're never home, so I came over to keep her company. You should be mad at me." I looked at his soft, pale face and felt a surge of nausea. The rage I'd been suppressing finally broke free. I raised my hand. Crack! The slap sent Julian sprawling to the floor, his eyes wide with disbelief, stars dancing in his vision. Frank, what are you doing?" Julian explained everything. "Why did you hit him?" Chloe shrieked like a startled hen. "I never realized you were such a violent, petty man. I told you, he's just my best friend. If anything was going to happen between us, it would have happened already." She scrambled to help Julian, hovering over him protectively. My eyes were ice. Chloe was still legally my wife. Hitting her would bring condemnation. But Julian was another story. Not everyone in the world was as blind and stupid as Chloe, defending the two-faced snake who called himself her bestie. I stormed into the study and packed a suitcase with all my things. Then, right in front of them, I dragged my suitcase out of the room and headed for the door. Seeing me leave for good, Julian couldn't hide the triumphant smirk on his face. Chloe's heart dropped. A look of genuine terror crossed her face. "Frank, what are you doing? Where are you going? Put your suitcase down. We can talk about this." "Don't go." My expression was a granite wall. My resolve was absolute. Chloe completely fell apart. She seemed to realize that if I walked out that door, I was never coming back. I didn't say a word. My main purpose in coming here was to collect my things and to retrieve the digital records of Chloe and Julian's lavish escapades, all funded by my credit cards. I got into the company car, waiting outside. Chloe stared at my receding taillights, then sank to the floor, utterly defeated. I turned to my assistant in the passenger seat. "Wire $30 million to the Miller Corp. In the memo line, write return of initial investment and all associated dividends. Then post a full accounting of every dividend they've received over the past 3 years on our company's official website. Then file for divorce immediately and release everything. The surveillance footage from the house, all the evidence of what those two have been up to. I want them ruined. I want them publicly shamed." "Yes, Mr. Thompson," Amy replied, her voice firm. I leaned back against the leather seat, my eyes dark and piercing in the night. "Next up, my dear mother and father-in-law." I had been prepared to just walk away, but that greedy old bastard not only wanted me dead, he wanted to carve me up and feed my flesh to his own failing company. Yes, Chloe's grandfather had helped me, but his $20 million investment? Over 3 years, I had paid him back $50 million, principal and interest combined. For 3 years, I had treated Chloe and her parents with sincerity and respect, and they threw my sincerity on the ground and stomped on it again and again. Meanwhile, at the Miller family estate, the lights were blazing. A group of Miller Corp's old guard executives were in high spirits. "Bill, you've still got the magic touch. one of them said, clapping him on the back. The finance department just called. You made one phone call, and that Thompson kid wired 30 million straight to the company account. Our year-end bonuses are safe. Miller Corp had been running in the red for years. They didn't even have enough cash on hand to pay the executives their bonuses. The 30 million I'd sent was a cause for celebration. I've always said the old chairman had a good eye, another chimed in. Picking Frank Thompson as a son-in-law was a stroke of genius. The kid's capable, good-looking, and the tech he's developing is making huge waves. I just wish I'd had a daughter to marry off to him. Basking in the praise of his old cronies, Bill's face was flush with pride. All right, enough of that, he said, waving a dismissive hand. I've already told Frank to give us the exclusive distribution rights for his new product. From now on, you and I can just sit back and watch the money roll in. Ha! My father-in-law was lost in his daydream, imagining a future where every new product I created would land exclusively in his lap. Just then, the phones of several executives buzzed at once. Bill answered his, confused. The voice on the other end was frantic. Mr. Miller, sir, it's a disaster. Thompson Industries just issued a press release announcing they're filing for divorce for Miss Miller. Evidence of her affair is all over the internet. And there's a video of you and Mrs. Miller planning to have Mr. Thompson killed. What? It was like a bolt of lightning had struck him. His mind went blank. Trembling, he fumbled to open a news app on his phone. It was everywhere. Videos, photos, screenshots. The story had gone viral. Miller Corp stock was in a nosedive. Frank dies, our company is safe, and Thompson Industries becomes ours too. Hearing his own voice from the security footage, Bill's face went white as a sheet. The internet was on fire. People were floored by the Miller family's utter lack of morality. WEF, what is wrong with these people? The daughter spends her husband's money to cheat on him, and the parents plot to have him murdered for his company? The apple doesn't fall far from the toxic tree. The Millers are the worst kind of trash. A whole family of scum. What kind of products could a company run by such heartless people even make? Frank Thompson is a saint for putting up with this family of psychopaths. I'm boycotting everything Miller Corp sells. Done. Bill stared at the screen, his head about to explode. He furiously dialed my number. Years of comfort and entitlement had made them soft. The second I answered, he started screaming. Frank Thompson, how could you? Hearing the sputtering rage in his voice, I finally let out a loud, unrestrained laugh. What's the matter, Bill? Everyone makes mistakes, right? I just made a small one. The kind of emotional mistake any overwrought man might make. I mimicked his patronizing tone perfectly. What's done is done. What's most important is for the family to be happy together. You ungrateful little bastard. The old dog on the other end of the line sounded like he was about to have a stroke. A cold sneer formed on my lips. Oh, are you upset now, Bill? You've only lost a little money. I, on the other hand, was publicly humiliated by my wife, while my in-laws were plotting my murder. Don't worry, I said, my voice dropping to a silken threat. We're just getting started. Ha ha ha. My laughter boomed, a sound of pure, cathartic release. So, the old man could feel pain after all. When a knife was at his own throat, he finally understood. On the other end of the line, Bill's world went black. He collapsed to the floor. The online storm was just beginning to brew. Back in my office, Amy came to see me again. Mr. Thompson, our lawyers have officially filed the petition against Ms. Miller. The court will schedule a pretrial mediation. The divorce should be finalized in as little as a week. I nodded, satisfied. A normal divorce would have a mandatory cooling-off period. I didn't want to be tied to that disgusting woman for 1 second longer than necessary. The next day, the internet firestorm reached Chloe and Julian. Chloe couldn't believe I'd actually filed for divorce and exposed her so publicly. The wave of online hate was something she had never experienced. Frank Thompson, you are a monster. How could you do this to me? She sobbed in her phone, her rage impotent. Chloe, baby, don't cry. Don't listen to those idiots online. They don't know anything. Julian cooed, playing the part of the wrong party. This is just Frank lashing out and slandering us. We'll post a clarification right now. We'll condemn him for what he's done. He looked like the picture of a concerned friend, but inside he was ecstatic. He had finally driven me away. With Chloe's love-addled brain, she would be putty in his hands. A divorce meant she'd get half my assets, and when her parents eventually died, the Miller fortune would be his. He could barely contain his excitement. Chloe's eyes lit up. Yes, this is all just his side of the story. I'll set the record straight. I'll show everyone the real Frank Thompson. Feeling empowered, she grabbed her phone and posted on all her social media accounts. Official statement. Mr. Julian Vance is my dear best friend. There is no improper relationship between us, contrary to the jealous slander being spread by Frank Thompson. Frank is not only a petty and insecure man who can't handle my close friendship with Julian, but he also has a violent streak. I urge everyone to see through his lies and not be deceived. She posted it and immediately told Julian to comment. Julian replied, "It's true. Chloe and I are just very good friends. I think Mr. Thompson might just be a little overly sensitive, but I've already forgiven him for assaulting me." His comment dripped with insincerity. The internet erupted again, this time with even more vitriol. Are you kidding me? What kind of best friend spends another man's money, gets handsy with his wife, and takes her clubbing when she's 7 months pregnant, causing a miscarriage? Just shut up, dude. Every word out of your mouth sounds slimy. You're not a bestie. You're a homewrecker. And this Chloe woman is blind. She has an amazing guy like Frank Thompson and throws him over for this two-faced snake? He deserved to get punched. In the old days, they would have run you both out of town. The online mob tore them to shreds. Apparently, Chloe was the only person on Earth who couldn't see it. Having never been criticized in her life, she called me in a rage, only to be met with the flat tone of a blocked number. That's when she finally broke down and cried. "Ugh, Julian, how could he be so cruel?" she wailed, collapsing into his arms. "So I made one little mistake. Why is he making such a big deal out of it? And besides, it's not like he's completely blameless in all this." With a beautiful woman sobbing in his arms and a divorce on the horizon, Julian felt his victory was at hand. For 3 years, he had coveted Chloe's status and wealth. Her grandfather had thwarted him, and then I had stood in his way like a mountain. Now I was finally gone. His years of scheming were about to pay off. He wrapped his arms around her tightly. "Shoo, Chloe, don't cry," he whispered. "It's okay. If Frank Thompson doesn't want you, I do. I will protect you forever." They were the most beautiful words Chloe had ever heard. The unattainable love of her youth was right here in her arms. "Julian," she whispered, clinging to his shirt, "don't ever leave me again." An immense sense of satisfaction washed over him. He went to the bar, pulled out a bottle of whiskey, and poured 2 glasses to celebrate his impending success. "Chloe, let him go. He doesn't deserve you. We have to look forward. I will never let you down. A toast," he said, raising his glass. "To your new life." He held the glass out to her, his eyes gleaming. Chloe hesitated. Her allergy. All her life, I had been adamant that she never touch a drop of alcohol. Seeing her reluctance, Julian pressed on. "Chloe, he's divorcing you. Why do you still care what he thinks? He forbid you from drinking because he wanted to control you. How serious can an allergy be, really?" Chloe thought of my warnings, and a rebellious spark ignited in her. She snatched the glass of whiskey from his hand. "Oomph. Frank Thompson can't control me anymore." She and Julian smiled at each other, clinked glasses, and downed the amber liquid in one go. They kept pouring. Half a bottle later, Chloe suddenly cried out in pain. Her entire body felt like it was on fire, her skin turning a deep, angry red. "Ah, Julian, my head. My stomach. It hurts so much," she gasped. "I can't breathe. Call 911. She looked down at the horrifying red welts blooming on her arms, and her mind cleared instantly. Her allergy. It was severe. Julian panicked. "What? What's happening? Why is this happening?" he stammered. "Chloe, you have to be okay." The ambulance arrived quickly. A chilling cold spread through Chloe's body, far worse than what she'd felt after the club. Her body convulsing, she reflexively grabbed her phone and sent me one last text. "Frank, help me." An overwhelming wave of terror and regret washed over her as her vision faded to black. I was working late when the hospital called again. "Mr. Thompson, your wife was drinking with someone and went into anaphylactic shock. She passed away. We need you to come to the hospital to identify the body." "Okay, I'll be right there." I hung up the phone. For a moment, there was silence. Then, All the pent-up emotion erupted in a harsh, guttural laugh. Ha ha. Chloe, you got what you deserved. Why would you drink when you knew it could kill you? Why? I had been dreading the divorce proceedings, the headache of splitting our assets nearly in half. And now, Chloe was dead, killed by her own stupidity. She died drinking with Julian. Her death wasn't just an ignominious end. It was the final piece of evidence I needed. Amy, call the police. I want to press charges against Julian Vance for negligent homicide. He knew she had a fatal allergy, and he encouraged her to drink. And get the lawyers on the phone. I want to sue to recover every single dollar Chloe spent on that leech over the years. After giving my orders, I headed to the hospital. When I arrived, they were already wheeling out a body covered by a white sheet. Chloe's parents were there, wailing over their daughter's corpse. When Bill saw Julian, his eyes were murderous. This can't be happening. It can't be. Julian, his jacket stained with vomit, was in a state of shock. If Chloe was dead, his 3-year plan was worthless. Chloe, you're not dead. You can't be, he muttered, grabbing his hair. How could a little bit of whiskey kill someone? This has to be a dream. His grand scheme had ended in ashes. He didn't dare look at Chloe's parents. He knew that if they found out she had died, because of him, they would never let him live. I walked in, flanked by Amy and a few of my company's security guards. When my mother-in-law saw me, she flew into a rage, clawing at the air as she lunged. Frank Thompson, I'll kill you. I gave you my daughter, and this is how you looked after her. You killed her. I'll never forgive you. Before my security could intervene, the police officers who had just arrived stepped in and restrained her. Now I knew where Chloe got her unreasonable, vicious nature. It was a family trait. An officer walked over to Julian. At the sight of the uniform, he completely lost it. Officer, it was an accident. I didn't do anything. Her death has nothing to do with me. The cops, having been briefed on our sordid history, looked at the three of them with disgust. Mr. Vance, one said curtly, "You're under suspicion of negligent homicide. You need to come with us." He then turned to my in-laws. "And Mr. and Mrs. Miller, you're both persons of interest in a conspiracy to commit murder investigation. You'll need to come with us as well." Julian Vance was found guilty of negligent homicide. Given the egregious circumstances, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. I successfully sued to recover all the assets Chloe had gifted him, arguing they were marital property. As for my father and mother-in-law, since their murder plot was never carried out, they were released after a few days of questioning. But I hadn't been idle. I had my team dig up evidence of tax evasion and the manufacturing of counterfeit goods at Miller Corp. The moment they stepped out of the police station, they were promptly arrested again by a different set of authorities. In the courtroom, seeing me in the gallery, Julian, Bill, and his wife stared at me with pure hatred. "It was you," Julian screamed, thrashing against his restraints. "Frank Thompson, you killed Chloe and framed me. Your Honor, he's the real murderer." If looks could kill, the daggers my in-laws shot at me would have sliced me to ribbons. "Frank Thompson, you ungrateful snake," my mother-in-law shrieked. "You repay our family's kindness by killing my daughter and destroying our lives." I sat there through the whole spectacle without saying a word, a cold, quiet smile on my face. Evil people never see the evil in themselves. Why did Chloe die? Maybe it was karma. Maybe God himself decided she had to answer for the child she had so carelessly thrown away. The judge's gavel came down. Bang! The defendant, Julian Vance, is found guilty of negligent homicide and is sentenced to 7 years in prison. Bang! The defendants, William and Eleanor Miller, are found guilty of manufacturing and selling counterfeit products, tax fraud. As they were dragged away to prison, their curses filled the air. "Frank Thompson, you're a demon, a butcher. You'll rot in hell for this." I let their impotent rage wash over me. For the first time in years, I felt light. I felt free.